All right, good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Hillsborough Township Planning Board meeting of May 9th, 2024. Please join me in a salute to the flag.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Amen.
Please be advised this meeting has been duly advertised according to Section 5 of the Open Public Meetings Act, Chapter 231, Public Law 1975, otherwise known as the Sunshine Law. Notice the 2024 meeting schedule has been provided to the officially designated newspapers. The Township Clerk posted or available here at the Hillsborough Township Municipal Complex and also available on the Township's website. In addition, application documents and plans have been made available on the Township Civic Clerk website at least 10 days in advance of this evening's meeting. Complete application files are available in the Planning and Zoning Department for inspection in accordance with the public meeting notice. With that, may I have roll call of board members and also board and township professionals, please?
Vice Chair Pease and Mr. Wagner and Mr. Vitale are absent. Mr. Vandervliet?
Here.
And Mr. Radowitz?
Here.
Mr. Scobo?
Here.
Ms. Smith?
Here.
Mr. Depp?
Here.
Committeeman Lapani?
Present.
Deputy Mayor Ciccarelli?
Here.
Chair Sirachi?
Here.
Mr. Coyce?
Present.
Mr. Bernstein?
Here.
Mr. Mayhew?
Here.
And myself, the videographer, are here.
Okay, great. Good evening, everyone, and welcome. So first up, we have a few meeting minutes for consideration. First up is the September 7th, 2023 meeting minutes. Mr. Bernstein, who's eligible?
Ms. Smith, the deputy mayor, and you.
Okay. May I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, any comments from the dais? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Chair Sirachi?
Yes. Next, meeting minutes is September 14th, 2023.
Mr. Scobo, Ms. Smith, Committeeman Lapani, the deputy mayor, and yourself.
Okay, may I have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
Any comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Scobo?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Committeeman Lapani?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Chair Sirachi?
Yes. Next, October 5th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Mr. Radowitz, Mr. Scobo, Ms. Smith, Committeeman Lapani, deputy mayor Ciccarelli, and the chair.
Okay, may I have a motion to approve?
So moved. Second.
Okay, any comments? Roll call, please.
Mr. Radowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Scobo?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Committeeman Lapani?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Chair Sirachi?
Yes. And finally, the October 12th, 2023 meeting minutes.
Same group as the October 5th.
Okay, is there a motion?
So moved. Second.
I'll let the videographer, or,
I second it.
all right, we'll let Mr. Scobo get it.
Ron first. There you go.
Okay, comments from dais? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Mr. Radowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Scobo?
Yes.
Ms. Smith?
Yes.
Committeeman Lapani?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Chair Sirachi?
Yes, we do not have any resolutions nor ordinances for consideration. However, we do have a planning board business, 1170 Millstone LLC with file number of 22-PB-09-MSP, an extension of time to be provided.
Thank you, members of the board. Michael Ogrodnik on behalf of the applicants in those matters. We're under contract with the township. The status is we went in under contract about a month ago. There was a phase 1 environmental investigation done. There was a series of areas of concern related to some dumping on the site and just the encroachment from the neighbor. Those areas of concern have been addressed and removed to the satisfaction of the board engineer, and now we're waiting on some soil sample testing from those some of those AOCs. So we're just asking for an adjournment. I would just say September or the same date that we're coming back for 279.
September 12th.
The closing schedule prior to that date.
Okay. Do we need to take formal action?
Yes.
Okay.
It's a motion, Mr. Chairman, to extend the application of 1170 Millstone LLC, file number 22-PB-09-MSPV, to September 13th, 2024, without further notice.
So moved.
Your second. Okay. Any
Second.
comments? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Vandervliet?
Here.
Yes.
Mr. Radowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Scobell?
Yes.
Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Deb?
Yes.
Committeeman Lapani?
Yes.
Chair Srirachi?
Yes. So, Mr. Agronic, while you're here, you have a couple of others that you're representing?
Yes,
For extension?
We also have the adjournment request for 279 Homestead.
Mr. Chairman, I suggest that we make a motion to
Yep.
suspend the order, please.
No, I will. I just want to see how
Well,
many there were. Okay. So I'm going to ask for a motion to suspend the order so we just can get through Mr. Ogrodnik.
So moved. Second.
Okay. Do we need to do roll call or
All in favor?
all in favor?
Aye.
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 Mr. Iannella?
Okay, so, Ms. Rose, so we're going to Homestead 279 LLC.
Well, Mr. Chairman, for purpose of the
one?
record, let the parties put their appearances on the record.
Okay.
Mr. O'Brien.
Michael Ogrodnik on behalf of the applicant, 279 Homestead LLC.
Mr. Iannella.
Sandro Ainella, the owner of 747 Route 206 and 743 Route 206, the objector.
Okay,
Mr.
Mr.
O'Brien.
Ogrodnik.
We're just requesting an adjournment. We have to make some substantial redesigns to the site, stormwater management, et cetera. We had talked about this a few months ago, but it's kind of been on pause. So we would just request an adjournment. I think we're at meeting 11 or 12 in that
12.
application. So we're going to need more time for engineering, for outside agency revisions. If you recall, the objector requested that we essentially change the grading and the orientation of the building so that the detention basin's away from his lot line. And so that's still underway.
Okay.
As you know, I don't have counsel at the moment. My counsel was hired by the township as a prosecutor. So now I'm seeking new counsel, as David Coy does know, through emails. But I would like to read this email that I wrote to the board this morning to put it on record. I would like to state that a major issue was brought up by the board on January 25th, meeting at 8:25. The board had made it clear that the applicant must provide all necessary documents, surveys, and most of all, the standing on the property, a contract, if you would like to say, within 30 days of that meeting to go forward with the application. A motion was made by the board with all agreeing at 8:26 p.m. The question is, we are now almost past 90 days and we still don't know the standing. What's going on? I have the transcripts here by Mr. Lapani saying he would like to know what's going on with the standing before we move any further. So now we're moving it to September or whatever the new date is. I'd just like to put that on record.
Mr. Chairman, there was a response from the planning office, which I concur with, which is since the application has not yet been finally scheduled, the 30 days has not started, the 30-day requirement has not gone into effect. I would indicate it's our recommendation to the board that the September 12th hearing that Mr. Ogrodnik is seeking is a preemptory hearing, that if this application is not ready to go at least 30 days before the September 12th hearing, either his client's going to withdraw the application or the board is going to render a decision based on what is before it. Everybody understand?
Yeah, we'll certainly, again, the standard for granting of adjournments in a case that's gone on for 2 years, I think is pretty liberal, especially when it's the very objector that necessitated the complete redesign. DEP is taking 1.5 years to do LOIs now. We can't control outside agencies. So we would certainly agree to submit the revised plans 30 days prior, as well as any other legal requirements related to the issue that was brought up regarding standing.
I would again make the recommendation to the board.
Okay.
That it's a preemptory date.
Okay, any discussion from the dais, or is there a motion to adjourn till September 12th, 2024 without further notice and as...
At 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard, the date is preemptory and without further notice, as the chair has indicated.
Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Scobo. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Roll call, please.
Mr. Radowitz.
Yes.
Mr. Scobo.
Yes.
Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Committeeman Lapani.
Yes.
Chair Sirachi.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm going to say, Mr. Grodnick, next one.
Okay. Good evening, members of the board. I'm here on behalf of G&J Steel Tubing. This is the second night.
303.
303.
Oh, 303.
So many clients can't remember.
So it's the same status as 1170 Millstone River Road. Under contract. I don't think there's any environmental issues on that site, but there's a closing scheduled prior to the September hearing. So we were just asking adjournment to allow the contracts to be executed and the Township of Hillsborough to acquire the subject property for open space.
Okay, and then is the objector in the audience? Craig Berlin? Or Berlin,
I
sorry.
don't see Mr. Berlin.
Nope. Okay.
It's a motion to continue this application, which is 303 Amwell Road, JMJ4A BLE LLC, file number 21 PB17-MSPV, extending the application time of decision to September 13th, 2024, and the application to be continued to September 12th, 2024 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard without further notice.
Okay.
I'll make that motion.
Scobo made the motion.
Second.
What was that? Okay. Any comments from the dais? Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Radowitz. Yes. Mr. Scobo.
Yes.
Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Committeeman Lapani.
Yep.
Chair Sirachi.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, before you go and start the regular order of business, you might want to go back to the...
And that's what I was thinking. So we're going to back it up to for business from the floor for matters not on the agenda. If there's anyone that would like to come up and play commentary, and because we do have a full evening, please keep it to comments. It's not a Q&A session, and also please refrain from any discussion regarding. I always want to say regarding planning board. It's a Freudian slip, but warehouses directly or indirectly, and please keep comments to 5 minutes.
Maria Janusik, 720 East Freck Avenue, Manville, New Jersey. I'm also a Hillsborough Township property owner, Block 86, Lot 3, 2155 Camp Lane Road. At on Thursday, last week's planning board meeting, I had informed the board that I did not receive proper notice from the developer for the Sherman Tract. I stated that I had received 2 flyers that were sent via certified mail with the return receipt requested, but there was no information as to why these flyers were sent, why one was sent, and then another one with different information. And then during the hearing of that, public hearing of that application, Attorney Eric Bernstein stated that proper notice had been given. I'm stating, as a property owner within 200 feet of that property, that proper notice was not provided. And so I'm just putting that on the record. And I know that this part of the meeting is not subject to verbatim transcript, But I'm repeating again what I said last week, and I know that what was said by Attorney Bernstein is part of the verbatim transcript, and what was stated is not correct. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, for purposes of the record, Ms. Janusik could have just as easily waited about another 20 minutes or so, plus or minus, to come up and make the objection again. She continues to not make the objection during the appropriate part, which is when the application is pending before this board. If Ms. Janusik believes that the notification to her or anyone else is not appropriate, there are avenues available to her outside of this entity in order to deal with that either now or in the future. But continuing to come up and put it on the record every week isn't going to make it any better.
Thank you. Anyone else from the public for matters not on this evening's agenda? I see none, so now we will get to the main event, or the first of two.
Thank you, members of the board. Again, Mike Ogrodnik from Savo Schalk Law Firm on behalf of the applicant G&J Steel and Tubing Incorporated. We're here seeking preliminary and final site plan approval for the construction of a 15,498 square foot addition, 301 Roycefield Road, Vincent's Lane. Site access is currently provided with the two full movement driveways along Vincent's Lane. That's a dead end road. Site improvements include concrete, trash enclosure, associated drainage, sidewalk, and why we're here tonight, we listened to the board and there were some concerns raised about traffic, parking stalls, and turning movements from the property that's directly to the south. We've spoken with a neighbor who was here earlier, and I promised them that we would make every effort to put some no parking signs so that his large truck that he uses occasionally to move his heavy equipment would have a sufficient turning radius. Prior to this hearing, we had requested a significant parking variance, and although my client is not a majority holder of the adjacent lot, we've discussed that with that corporation, and they're allowing us to increase a parking field onto the adjacent lot, which we would memorialize with the clerk's office with a cross-access agreement that would be reviewed by Mr. Bernstein and Mr. Willard. I did renotice this, although I thank Mr. Bernstein for not requiring it, but since we're including lot 11.01, I did renotice it. And then, there's a new variance necessitated by that side yard setback where the parking field extends. The existing variances were explained at length at the last hearing, and I don't think I need to go over them. The impervious for lot 11.1 is 3.7%, and we're looking at about 9.2%. And again, pursuant to the prior conditions of the land use approval, when the subdivision was completed, or the lot line adjustment was completed, there was a restriction on impervious, which we've removed some area that's currently an area where there's some outdoor storage, there's a trailer, there's a gravel area, and this application proposes restoring that to grass so that we get under the allowable impervious coverage limit that was required by that prior resolution. Tonight we have Mr. Ford to go over the existing and proposed site conditions. Really, it's just the parking field that's been expanded. We now have, with the EV credits, 61 spots. We're still and I had to ask Mr. Dean about this, but technically we still do need a variance, even though the credits get us to the 61 spaces. We have Gary Dean from Dolan and Dean, who prepared a traffic impact study. If he's available to testify, I don't particularly think, given the operational testimony, that we need traffic testimony, but I defer to the board on that, as well as architecture. So, but I would ask all the witnesses, because Mr. Dean was not here last time, to be sworn in so we can be responsive to any questions from the board related to traffic and architecture, as well as
Before
Mr. Ford.
Mr. Dean is sworn in, Mr. Chairman, for the purpose of the record, I would indicate that I'm in possession of a certification by absent board member examination of record / eligibility to vote from Ron Scobo for this application, which makes Mr. Scobo eligible to hear and vote on this application this evening, if completed. Mr. Coyce.
You both swear that any testimony, all of you swear that any testimony you give tonight will be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
Yes, I do.
Yes, I do. Front to back, name, please.
Mike, go ahead.
I'm the front. Michael Ford, FORD with Van Cleef Engineering, professional engineer. Testified at the last hearing.
Gary Dean, DEAN of Dolan and Dean in Somerville, New Jersey, the applicant's traffic consultant.
Can you come to the mic? We're going to get you on tape.
John Menino, MANNINO, Sermonero architect. I'm the applicant's architect.
John Tursky, President, G&J Steel and Tubing. Okay. The color rendering that's on the screens is a color illustration of the most recent site plan, last revised April 18th, 2024. It includes lot 11.04, which is the corner lot to the east of the subject lot where the addition is being proposed. And quite simply, the substantive changes are at our easterly driveway off of Vincent's Lane. As the board may recall, there is an existing driveway, and I'm going to the existing condition plan, where it was suggested at the end of the last hearing that we expand the parking to the east to get closer to the 61 required parking spaces, and we're at 57. We would have been at 58, but once you get over 50, you're required an additional handicap space, which required striping along one of the spaces. So we're at 57 spaces, but as Mr. Grodnick indicated, the new standards for electric vehicle charging stations is the regulations actually allow you to have a credit for 2 spaces for every EV station. I'm not sure what the logic is. I anticipate the question, but we're still seeking that relief. So, but technically with the 4 EV charging stations, we're at the 61 spaces total for credit. The other substantive change.
I just want to ask Mr. Bernstein, do we need to label this? Because it's a new drawing. Do we need to label this?
Mr. Lombardozzi, what's the last exhibit?
Sorry, I'm prepared.
And
these were submitted electronically to the planning department. I understand they're on Civic Clerk.
Mr. Ford, for purposes of the record, just indicate what A4.
That's the proposed site exhibit last revised April. Actually, it's May 7th because it was colorized on May 7th. And I'm going to zoom in so you can see that.
Thank you.
May 6th, excuse me. Okay, so the other substantive change was with regards to landscaping. The Environmental Commission had suggested that we find on-site locations for the tree mitigation plantings, and they actually suggested that we utilize some of the area on 1104, which is lot 1104, which is now part of the application, and we've done that. So the tree mitigation plantings are all provided on site. And then with regards to stormwater management, we've designed a stormwater management system under the additional parking. So I think that's the substantive elements. And then with regards to Vincent's Lane and the no parking area, The objector that was at the last hearing is the property to the south of us or on the other side of Vincent's Lane, and I'm highlighting their driveway now on Exhibit A4. And their concern was large trailers pulling in and out of their site and having room to maneuver without having to go over their curb return at their driveway, and the issues caused by people parking on Vincent's Lane regarding that movement. And what the applicant has agreed to do is post no parking for that approximately 100 feet, basically between their access driveway and our easterly access driveway. So it would keep people from parking in that area.
Mr. Ford, I apologize for interrupting. Is that street/driveway a public street?
Yes, it is.
So any condition for no parking is going to require township committee approval?
Correct.
Okay, thank you.
To be enforceable.
Well, which is, I assume, the rationale for doing it in the first place. Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
Thank you, Mike.
But the applicant would post the signs. The other element is certainly as part of the parking on lot 11.04 servicing the subject lot 11.01 would be in an easement, and that would restrict the parking for use by G&J Steel. And then I'll report to the board that we received 2 review memorandums from the township professionals since the last hearing. One dated May 8th, 2024 by the board's planner, Mr. Coyce, and we would agree to address each and every one of those comments and requirements in that memorandum to his satisfaction as a condition of approval. And then similarly, we've received a memorandum dated May 9th, 2024 from the board's professional engineer, Mr. Mayhew, Pannoni Associates. And again, we find no objections to any of the comments or questions or clarifications with regards to minor plan changes in that review. And we would agree to address each and every one of those comments to the satisfaction of Pannoni Associates and Mr. Mayhew. One last item, and I mentioned this at the last hearing. We have made a submittal to NJDEP for a freshwater wetland letter of interpretation footprint of disturbance. That is, we haven't identified wetlands on site, and one of the approach is to confirm that you're not impacting any regulated areas is to submit what's called a presence absence footprint of disturbance. So we identified the area of disturbance on our site, submitted an application to DP for that LOI. As you've heard earlier this evening, and I'm sure with other applications, the processing of DEP applications that don't have a time limit for DEP to act are taking in excess of a year, 18 months, up to 2 years or more. What we would suggest, and I've discussed this with Mr. Mayhew, is that that outside agency, and it's not that we need a permit from them, we're seeking just verification that we don't need a permit from them, that not be a condition of approval because of that time constraint. Otherwise, the project would be significantly delayed, and as testified at our last hearing, there's an urgent need for the additional space. And what we've discussed and what we would suggest that the applicant can secure a professional wetland consultant to issue a letter report verifying basically what we've asked NJDEP to verify. That is, there's no regulated areas that are being disturbed by the application, and that can happen and be reported to the board in a timely fashion.
Mr. Ford, just one last question, switching gears to your planning hat. Would it be you're a professional planner in the state of New Jersey?
Yes, I am.
Would you agree that the bulk variance relief requested can be granted without the showing that there would be a substantial detriment to the public good and will not substantially impair the intent of the purpose of the zone plan and the zoning ordinance?
Yes.
Would you agree that this is a appropriate use of this industrial zone
Yes.
Would you agree that this is a sprinkler building?
Yes, it is.
Would you agree that this would properly secure the public from fire?
Yes.
Would you testify as a professional planner that this provides adequate light and open space?
Yes.
And would you agree that this provides an appropriate location for the commercial and industrial uses within Hillsborough Township?
Yes.
I have no further questions.
I think that all that was consistent with my testimony at the last hearing, and since the last hearing, as part of our resubmittal in preparation for this evening's hearing, we addressed each and every comment in the review memorandums that we had received to date, and that included the township's fire marshal or fire official, fire chief. So we've actually already complied with all the comments in their review that we said we would at the last hearing.
I have no further questions for the witness.
Sounds like the time's up.
Mr. Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I concur with Mr. Ford's testimony that our office believes that any outstanding issue in our memorandum dated May 9th can be resolved. I just want to bring to the board's attention 3 items. There will be stream corridor buffer impacts, and Mr. Ford has put on testimony at the prior hearing to support those waivers if the board so chose to grant them. Mr. Ford mentioned the issue with receiving an LOI or presence absence from the DEP. So if the board was inclined to approve the application conditioned upon our review letter, I would ask the board would need to amend our comment number 3 under miscellaneous. And we're open to the suggestion of Mr. Ford that receiving a letter from a professional wetland scientist stating that there's no proposed disturbance to regulated areas would suffice for our office. And the third issue is the additional parking. I just want to clarify and make sure the applicant understands that it's our office opinion that the additional parking on the adjoining lot would need not just a cross easement, but the easement would have to state that the parking is restricted to this current applicant to avoid double counting these parking spaces on both lots.
Yep, and we would agree to that. I had that discussion with the president of the company today that, should that other lot be developed at some point, that we can't count these spaces for the other lot's parking needs.
Okay, great. That's all we have.
Perfect. Thank you, Mr. Coyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The issues that were raised in my memo have all been addressed, so I have no further questions or concerns at this time.
Okay. Board members?
You answered my one question about the parking being doubled, so thank you for that. So is that land then being over and then changed over and deed restricted to that lot only? Is that the plan?
Easement.
Yeah, it's going to be a cross-access easement with a deed restriction that Mr. Bernstein and Mr. Willard will review.
Okay, so that'll be part of that lot for...
So essentially, it'll always be used.
For that lot?
Yes.
Okay. Can't
Yes,
be taken away.
it's going to be a non-revocable deed restriction on the lot.
All right, that's it.
Yep. Right, no, right there. Oh, that's it.
All right. Just curious. What's that? I was just curious, and it doesn't sound like you have any concerns, but the issue with the LOI, if you were to move forward with an engineer, a wetland scientist statement, you'd essentially just be working at risk pending the DEP's response to your LOI.
Correct.
And having just listened to the last month's tape, there was testimony if in fact that DEP takes issue, or we need to do a storm garden or some rain garden or some stormwater management as required, we would endeavor to do so, but we don't think it's going to be necessary.
And come back before the board.
Yeah, but I think that what Mr. Ogrodnik just referred to with regards to stormwater, we've actually already incorporated a stormwater management system since the last hearing. that complies with the current state standards, NJAC 7:8. And then with regards to the concern about the wetlands, we're all the area that we're disturbing, and if you go back to the existing condition map, is all areas that are already currently disturbed. Actually, our curb line, our most westerly curb line, just to the left or west of the addition, matches up with the existing curb line in the loading area behind the building, the existing building. And then this area here that's going to be green now, immediately adjacent to the addition, is actually loading now. So we're actually reducing the areas closest to our neighbor to the west where there may be a regulated area. And we're not talking about a wetland, we're talking about potentially even a wetland buffer area. And we'll seek out that professional to produce a review report and their findings of that would include a site visit, certainly, to be submitted to Mr. Mayhew for his review and approval.
We got one other question came up with this new parking, Mr. Mayhew, and that entrance and the addition of those extra spaces. Have they provided a template that the emergency vehicles can come in there if that lot is full and make that turn coming in off of if they have to, off of that first entrance? Has that been provided?
I'm not sure if the truck turning template was updated, but I'm comfortable that it's not negatively impacting. The geometry of that turn is similar to what was submitted last month and it demonstrated. So as long as we make it a condition to submit it, I'm comfortable with that.
Yeah.
Bless you. Thank you. Any other comments? Okay, may I have a motion to open to public?
So moved.
All in favor? Aye. If there's anyone in the public that would like to question Mr. Ford on his testimony, please come to the mic, state your name and address for the record, please.
Susan Gulliford, Hunt Club Road. I have a question on the parking. The cars that are who's parking out there now? Is it employees? Is it delivery trucks? And with your impressive expansion that you showed on your video, with the if it's employees and you have to get additional employees, will this actually be enough? Are they just parking out there so they get out first at the end of the day, or what?
Yeah, this was addressed at the prior hearing. Just to summarize that, this is an expansion that's not going to necessitate any additional employees. This is for storage. There is parking permitted on Vincent's Lane, and there was testimony related because of the location of the doorway, the main entrance. Oftentimes visitors park on Vincent Lane right there, but we feel that certainly with the substantial expansion of the parking field, that parking would be adequate and in fact is compliant with the zoning.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, do not see anyone else. Okay.
Maria Janusic, 720 East Freck Avenue, Manville, New Jersey. Initially, comments were made about having gotten an okay in regards to fire safety. What was provided to the fire marshal that needed to get approval?
So submission to fire is a checklist item, and every application is reviewed by Chris Weninger, and we received approval related to this. There's no comment other typical knock box, things like that. Do you have that date?
Yeah, there actually is on the cover sheet, there's a list of about 10 items that are right out of the memorandum from Mr. Winiger, and Mr. Ogrodnik is right on target. It's with regards to knockbox. As the board may remember, we have an existing fencing gate at our westerly driveway. He asked for a similar knockbox on that, and we've added all those notes. These are basically construction-related items.
what's going to be stored in this new facility?
That there was testimony last hearing at that.
Does that have anything to do with fire safety?
No, it's a steel tubing manufacturing company. So there's robotic equipment, there's finished product, things of that nature, all different types of metals that is used in the formation of the steel tubing process.
Okay. In regard to the issue with the freshwater wetlands obtaining an LOI from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection, so were you suggesting hiring to kind of get some kind of paperwork in place in regard to the freshwater wetlands?
There's been no wetlands identified on site, and what we're suggesting is that, and we've just submitted an application to DEP to verify that there are no wetlands or buffers on the site, and they wouldn't be disturbed by the proposed project. And what we're suggesting is that we'd have a wetland consultant to essentially do the same thing that DEP is going to do, verify that fact.
So once you get information from the consultant, do you still need to get the LOI from the New Jersey Department of Environmental Protection?
Well, the LOI is not a requirement. We're not seeking a permit to do something. We're just seeking verification that no regulated areas are being disturbed. To date, there hasn't been any regulated areas on site that have been identified that would be disturbed. And basically, as a belt and suspenders, we've endeavored at the sake of being certain, made that submittal to NJDP for the LOI. The issue is just the timing of the process of that request by DEP, and what we're suggesting is we'd have a consultant basically do the same thing, but in a more timely fashion.
Okay. In regard to that cross-access easement, is that going to have any impact on any kind of wetlands or anything of that nature?
No.
No. All right, then, thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else? Okay, next witness.
I defer to the board if they want to hear from Mr. Dean. I know you have a busy agenda. And architecture, so if you guys, they're sworn in. If you have any questions, we're available to answer those questions.
Mr. Chairman, I would suggest that the prior testimony and the materials submitted covers adequately any testimony that any other witness would provide. And I agree with counsel that it might be prudent to move forward without that.
Okay. I'm just going to look at my professionals. So you concur?
Mr. Chairman, we have no specific questions for the architect or the traffic engineer.
All right, thank you. Ms. Coyce?
Likewise, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. I feel like I'm going to uncharted territory, though. We're going to come to a vote on an application.
Yeah, an application, it's been a while. Mr. Chairman, the board would be seeking to approve G&J Steel and Tubing, Inc., file number 24-PB-01-MSBV. Applicant seeking preliminary and final site plan approval, seek both variances and waivers to construct a 15,498 square foot building addition to the existing building on property in the I-2 and light industrial zone pursuant to the application submitted by the applicant as amended this evening, in accordance, the acceptance of all the reports by Mr. Mayu and Mr. Coyce, and the agreement to all the conditions and agreements, including the cross-access agreement for parking, that Mr. Ogrodnik and or Mr. Ford and or any other party on behalf of the applicant have placed on the record.
Okay. Well, that's what I'm going to say. Do we do a motion first before we go to the public for last
Well,
chance?
public's still open, so I mean, you can make the motion, hold it, and then.
Okay.
I know it's been a while. We've forgotten.
Yeah, I know.
We've forgotten what to do.
I know.
Just cheat sheet.
Okay.
So we can.
You can make a motion, and then I will turn it over to the public. So.
Second.
Okay, Deputy Mayor made the motion, Mrs. Scobel made a second. Going to hold a vote. Last bite at the apple for the public
On the application.
on the application itself. Okay. I see none, so do I need to close the public?
Close public.
All
Motion
right, is
closed.
there a motion to close the public?
So moved.
Second.
All in favor? Aye. Okay, now we have a motion on the,
You have a
Table?
motion second, so unless anyone from the board has an issue with the motion second, it's a roll call.
any last comments from the board? I see a lot of shaking heads no, that's a good sign. Roll call, please.
Mr. Vandervliet. Yes. Mr. Radowitz.
Yes.
Mr. Scobah.
Yes.
Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Depp. Yes. Committeeman Lapani.
Before I vote, I'd like to thank the applicant for taking our comments from the last meeting and coming in with a plan addressing those comments. I think it worked out for the application, worked out for them and their neighbor. And with that, I thank you and give a yes.
Deputy Mayor Chicarelli.
Yes.
Chair Sraji.
And yes. Thank you,
very
gentlemen.
much.
Doing good, Mike?
Mr. Chairman, I realize the next order of business is the county, then Sherman.
Yep.
I would suggest we
You want to flip?
flip them.
Think it'll be, I just want to make sure we get to a break. You think it's going to go more than a half hour?
Well, I think at some point, probably around 8:45, we're going to break at 8:45, Michael.
Okay.
Because
All
I
right.
think we told the county they could be on around 9.
Okay.
So if we do the break at 8:45, we can have them come in at 9.
All right.
And this is not an application that's going to get finished this evening.
All right. So if no objections from the board, I'm going to change the order and call Sherman Track Phase 2. M&M at
You got to stay a
Camplain,
while, Matt.
at Camplain Road, LLC. File number 23-PB-18-MSPV. Time of decision, June 13th of this year.
8
Block
o'clock,
86,
8
Lot
o'clock,
21.02, formerly Block 86, Lot 21, Camplain Road, Estelle Street, per the Hillsborough Township tax records. And this application is being continued from last week, May 2nd of this year, without further notice. And Counselor, turning it over to
A
you.
couple of the other county people I don't recognize the county
I don't think you got the green light on?
in case you have not met him before.
Thank you.
Ms. Elgart, before you go on the record, let me place that we are in possession of 2 certifications of absent board members' examination of record / eligibility to vote for Sherman Track Phase 2 M&M at Camplain Road LLC, file number 23-PB-18-MSB from Mr. Radowitz and Mr. Vandervliet. So they are now both eligible to participate.
Excellent. Thank you. Irina Elgart from Weingarten Law Firm on behalf of M&M at Camplain Road, LLC. As the board members are aware, we were here last week and we were coming back with our traffic expert, Andrew Vicio, and he was going to address additional surveying that we did along Camplain Road in order to address Mr. Mayhew's comments on his letter, May 2nd, 2024. It's on page 5. It's page 4, number 5, with regard to the widening of Camplain Road. Without further ado, I'm going to hand it over to Mr. Vicio. If you could just go through some of the...
We have him sworn
We're
in
going to get sworn in
again.
again.
I think he was sworn in already, or...
Swear at him again.
Yes, I do. First name Andrew, last name Vicio, V as in Victor, I, S as in Sam, C as in cat, H-I-O.
If you can walk the board through some of your findings after surveying the Camplain Road and the widening of...
Absolutely. So our team did go back out to the site, conduct additional investigations. We also, in parallel track with that, conducted research specific to comment number 5 on the most recent engineering review letter issued by Pannoni, number 2, dated May 2nd, 2024. I, along with council, have both referred to comment number 5. We conducted an extensive amount of research on the subject and the recommendations specific to that comment, and I wanted to give the board the benefit of our findings and our conclusions and recommendations. So just to refresh everyone's memory, the comment recommended that the intersection of the driveway at Champlain Road be widened to provide a 12-foot travel lane and an 8-foot wide paved shoulder on the west and eastbound lanes along the site frontage. Appropriate pavement widening tapers shall be provided for both directions based on a 40-mile-per-hour design speed, and appropriate guide rail shall be provided on the eastbound lane at the existing culvert. As I stated previously, we conducted an extensive amount of research regarding the benefits and drawbacks of providing shoulders on roadways, specifically for collector types of roadways. And our conclusion is that there are more disadvantages by providing shoulders than there are advantages. In essence, we could be incurring safety conditions that are unsafe as a result of establishing these shoulders to address an issue that is negligible and not significant and doesn't necessarily need to be addressed. So some relevant resources there. Section 4.1.1 of the AASHTO Green Book. When I say AASHTO Green Book, that's a colloquial term for a reference manual entitled A Policy on the Geometric Design of Highways and Streets. The Green Book states that well-designed and properly maintained shoulders are needed on highways in rural areas with an appreciable volume of traffic, on freeways, and on high-speed highways in urban areas. Champlain Road does not meet any of this criteria. The roadway is in an urban setting. It accommodates low traffic volumes. It is not a freeway, and it is not a high-speed highway. I think there are 3 major disadvantages and potential misuses of those shoulders. The first being changing the character of the roadway, being Champlain Avenue. Again, as stated in the Green Book, the functional classification of a road or street, together with its context classification, helps designers to anticipate the basic design types that may be appropriate for that facility. So, because roadway designers utilize functional classification to establish roadway design elements, motorists frequently encounter shoulders on high-speed and high-volume roadways. Champlain Road, however, facilitates access to numerous single-family homes along its length. Encountering full-width shoulders designed with high-speed tapers may change driver expectation and cause motorists to change their behavior. The second point and potential disadvantage of establishing shoulders is that it would facilitate illegal passing maneuvers. So page 65 of the 2023 New Jersey Driver Manual specifically states, never pass on the right shoulder of the road. This is against the law. If a motorist is stopped in the westbound travel lane waiting for a gap in traffic to make a left turn into the proposed site, a shoulder designed for high speeds would allow for this illegal action. And the third potential disadvantage is that it would encourage speeding. As I previously noted, shoulders are common along high-speed, high-volume roadways. According to an FHWA publication entitled Factors Influencing Operating Speeds and Safety on Rural and Suburban Roads, published in May 2015, states that wider lanes and shoulders also appear to result in faster operating speeds. For example, methodologies in the Highway Capacity Manual predict an approximately 1.3 to 1.7 mile per hour increase in speeds for every 1 foot increase in shoulder width on a 2-lane highway. So in summary, we weighed the benefits and drawbacks of providing shoulders. The benefits being potentially being used as a way for stopped vehicles to a way for let me start with the eastbound direction. The benefit of a shoulder in the eastbound direction is that it could be utilized as a deceleration lane, so to speak, which in this case is not warranted based on the low traffic volumes making those right turns. And a shoulder on the opposite side of the roadway, I don't see any appreciable benefits, only drawbacks, and I think that due to the potential for people to use it illegally as a passing lane, I think it would result in a more unsafe condition than utilizing the existing geometry at the proposed site driveway. So I know that's a mouthful and a lot of references. Council, is there anything I should clarify?
Yes, if you could just also discuss with regard to the eastbound travel, did you find any conflicts when you went and did additional surveying?
Yes, there are issues with the head wall, culvert, and a utility pole in the eastbound direction.
Okay. I really don't have any other questions if the professionals would like to.
You.
Yes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I just have 2 points. I guess one is the Champlain Road is classified as a major collector on the township roadway classification map. I would suggest that we should receive some input from the township staff engineer as to the design intent for major collectors within the township. And I guess my other point would be the truck turning movement plans that were submitted show conflicts for buses entering and exiting and for trash trucks. So I would suggest that no matter what the geometry ends up, it should be a plan that eliminates conflicts for buses entering and exiting and eliminates conflicts for trash trucks. I think there's leeway with emergency vehicles because I think we understand other vehicles will yield and allow an emergency vehicle to cross the yellow line. But I think for buses and for trash trucks, the geometry that's finalized should eliminate those conflicts, should eliminate those vehicles crossing yellow lane, and should eliminate them conflicting with a car that's parked and trying to exit, as an example, which is currently happening.
And we will submit that.
That's all we have on this topic at this point.
Okay. Just going to throw it to Mr. Coyce, just in case.
I don't have anything for this, Mr. Chairman. Thank you.
Okay. Board members?
Just as a matter of the traffic study that you did you do any kind of counting on the number of vehicles that drive that road at the present time? As you say, it's a low-traveled road. It'd be interesting to see what you would consider a low-traveled road.
Absolutely. So the Champlain Road carries approximately 6,000 vehicles, 6,000 vehicles per day, which I would certainly classify as a relatively low-traveled roadway.
I might disagree trying to cross that road, but And did you do any kind of peak analysis of when most of that traffic was? Was it peak, 6 to 8, 5 to 7 type deal?
Yeah, absolutely. So the peak hours occurred.
And if you could refer to where in your report, so then makes it easier for you to take a look at it later.
Right. So I'm referring to, first I'll refer to the submitted traffic impact study. Because as I previously testified to, subsequent to that submission, we did go out and collect new counts. So referring to the previously or the submitted study that the board has, referring to page 3, the weekday morning peak hour occurred from 7:30 a.m. to 8:30 a.m. and the weekday evening peak hour occurred from 3:45 p.m. to 4:45 p.m. Slightly different for the counts that were conducted about a month ago. The weekday morning peak hour occurred from 7:45 a.m. to 8:45 a.m. and the weekday evening peak hour occurred from 4 p.m. to 5 p.m. And I also want to be careful to note that our traffic counts in the afternoon did begin at 2 p.m. So all of our data does comprise any traffic that would be associated with dismissal at the nearby elementary school.
Thank you.
Excuse me, are you saying at the complex that there is no turning lane going into the complex, that they have to go from the driving lane and they can't pass on the right?
That is correct. So right now,
and coming back the other way, if there's someone wants to turn into that complex, they can't pass on the right.
That is correct.
It seems as though that's going to be a problem when there's traffic, when it's backed up, 10, 12 cars, and you're going to have a problem there.
No, I understand. I understand where you're coming from, and I think that. So, just in terms of what it might look like, should this be built, it will look very similar to the Phase 1 driveway. And when it comes to the potential for backups and queuing, that's something that we look very carefully at. We do very complex calculations with specialized software, and I can tell you that the level of service is A, but that might not mean anything to the layperson. But
you can describe the queuing and the time.
Right. So I think it would be helpful to just talk about the queuing. We're anticipating only one vehicle ever being stopped in traffic heading in the westbound direction, waiting to make a left into our site. And that is that's a result of two factors. One being the relatively low volumes on Camplain Road that I spoke about. So there are, I think my previous testimony was there's approximately a gap of about 11 seconds on average in between oncoming vehicles. Whereas someone who desires to make a left turn into the site only needs a critical gap of approximately 4 seconds. So there are ample gaps in traffic for motorists who desire to make a left turn into the site. And in addition to that, there aren't very many people that we are projecting that will make that left turn into the site. And the last thing I'll leave you with is just the numbers that we're projecting for those specific movements. I'm again referring to our traffic impact study. The numbers that I'm going to cite are the same for the one that was submitted and the one that was updated recently. I am referring to Figure 6 on Appendix Sheet A13.
And what's the date of the report? Just
the date of the report, why don't I, for simplicity, refer to the submitted report. The date of that report, it was revised April 19, 2024. Again, Figure 6, Sheet A14 in the appendix.
Thank you.
Illustrates the number of vehicles that we anticipate would travel throughout the adjacent roadway network that are generated by our development. And based on our projections using industry standards, we are anticipating only 10 vehicles during the critical weekday evening peak hour desiring to make a left into the site. We, on the other hand, are anticipating 18 vehicles making a right into the site, coming from the west, heading east. So in summary, it's a combination of the capacity that's available on the road and the relatively low traffic generation of this particular development.
Can I ask a question, please? When the study is done, and I do not know how it works, so the question might be pretty ill-informed, but is the size of vehicles taken into consideration, the average size of vehicles? Because that affects the turning radius. Most of the vehicular traffic that I've seen on Camp-Lane Road, having been a resident of this town, are usually tractor trailers, huge trucks, and they block up smaller vehicles. Does that have any bearing in this entire study or its outcome?
It does in two ways. So we account for heavy vehicles in our capacity analysis. When we conduct traffic counts, we don't just count a vehicle as one vehicle regardless of its size. We make note of whether or not it's a truck or not. And that's important to include in our capacity analysis because of the reasons that you just mentioned. Trucks take longer to perform turning movements. It takes them a little bit longer to start and come to a stop. So all of our capacity analysis does account for a certain percentage of heavy vehicles. And then with respect to our geometric design of the roadway, Mr. Mayhew pointed out that our driveway needs to be designed to accommodate school buses, emergency vehicles, delivery vehicles, and the like. We use turning movement templates to determine how large our curb radii needs to be in order to have those design vehicles make those turns without doing things such as crossing a double yellow that was pointed out previously or encroaching on the opposing lane. So in conclusion, we take a look at it both operationally and geometrically.
So it sounds like sufficient due diligence has been done there. Thank you.
Quick question. You mentioned on page 3 access to the scoot, 0.3 miles. Where is that in relation to the entrance?
You're referring to the April 19th, 2024 report.
Yeah, it's in both of them. Yeah.
Correct. I apologize. I don't have the location of that stop memorized, but I will make sure to follow up with you on that.
Okay, thank you.
I can answer that question.
I thought somebody up here might be able to.
It's Sunnymead Road.
It's on Sunnymead.
Sunnymead corner, Sunnymead and Camp Lane.
So it's at the corner there. Okay, I didn't know if it was down in front of the recycling center or not, but it's on that corner?
Mm-hmm.
All right, thanks.
I looked at that last meeting.
Thank you.
Yeah, I just was looking at a street view. So I know the other, we'll say, we want to call it phase one or whatever. I mean, I do believe it's probably westbound. I mean, there is a shoulder there. I think it just was, natural to call it there. Obviously, there's not one here, and most likely there'll be more of a delay, someone making a left turn into the complex versus right turn. And, I'm thinking it's more of a safety feature because if it's a 40, 45 mile an hour road.
Mm-hmm.
So someone's coming down there at a good pace, and in the event that at the last minute, they really have nowhere to go turning into this. The other one, there is a dirt shoulder. It's just natural to what that business has. So, that's kind of where the concern I think would be. Someone is coming up on that at 40, 45, and they have really nowhere to go.
No, I understand, and I want to make sure I understand which direction.
I think it's west, right? You got to make a left. Yeah.
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 Yeah. So
that's ones. I don't think anyone's looking for a full-blown passing lane or something like that. But I think there should be something where someone could, in emergency, could at least veer off.
Can you address
I think that
the conditions that it would create having that shoulder?
My point previously was that I think the provision of a path that you could travel to pass that vehicle waiting to make a left turn introduces more safety challenges than it solves. So what the appropriate driver behavior is for a trailing vehicle traveling behind someone who's slowing to make the left turn into the site is to use their adequate sight distance, which they do have in this case. It's a fairly straight shot. And the trailing vehicle would slow their speed to a level that doesn't require them to drive all the way up to the back of the stopped vehicle and come to an abrupt stop.
Yeah.
So they're almost metering themselves.
I get it. Otherwise, if that was true, there'd be no auto body shops. So I'm sorry. I mean, I see it, on straight roads all the time. People are getting distracted, and so that's why I'm just countering, that benefit detriment analysis there, because I don't think right now we have. I'm just looking at the street view. There doesn't look like that there's adequate for someone to, in the last minute evasive maneuver to go anywhere, like there is currently at phase one, which just has it's just naturally there. So that's what I'm just saying. They can take that into consideration.
And one thing that is very common to do is improve signage for vehicles traveling in that direction to inform them that there is a driveway, at a particular location. So seeing that sign could inform the motorists that they need to be more alert of a vehicle potentially slowing down and turning into the site. I understand where you're coming from with respect to, having that space to maneuver at the last second, but I think that that occurrence would be less frequent than the occurrence of someone behind a vehicle waiting to make a left turn, using the shoulder improperly and driving extremely close to the house that's in that vicinity. I think that would happen more than the potential evasive maneuver that might occur.
We'll agree to disagree.
Yeah, no, totally.
It's all
That's
good.
okay.
I'm only one of many here. So.
And actually, it's pertinent because that is what adds to my concern about the huge vehicles, right? It blinds the car behind. So, I think Mr. Chairman's contention here is, supported by me as well.
Yeah. Okay. Any comments before we open to public? Okay. Motion to open to public?
I'll make that motion.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. If there's anyone public that would like to question this witness of his testimony, please come up, state your name and address for the record, please.
Hi, Grant Colmer, Taylor Avenue. There's two traffic studies. I'm reading that from the documentation. Is that correct? One done in June, one done in April?
That is correct. The initial traffic study was prepared and dated June 15th, 2023. Subsequent to that, there was a engineering review letter prepared by Pannoni. Their first engineering review letter dated April 10th, 2024, in which there were 3 comments related to the traffic impact study. So in an effort to address those 3 comments, we revised our traffic study and submitted it to the board, and that is dated April 19th, 2024.
All right,
Those are the only 2 reports that have been submitted to the board.
It was out of necessity for collecting new data, is that correct?
So one of the comments...
and I apologize, I wasn't here from the very beginning of this.
Sure.
Sherman Track 2, so I'm catching up.
Yeah, the first comment in that... well, let me go back in time a little bit. So the... The first comment in Pannoni's first review letter that pertained to traffic engineering stated that the TIS utilizes traffic counts from May of 2019 to develop existing and horizon year volumes using an NJDOT growth factor. Provide updated traffic counts and revise the TIS accordingly. We were not able to physically get to the site in time for the resubmission. So we grew the volumes to a 2024 existing condition and resubmitted that report, to which Pannoni again reviewed and found that it was an acceptable submission. They noted that comment as being satisfied. Nevertheless, we did go out and perform traffic counts subsequent to the second submission of that traffic impact study, just to make sure that we had 2024 volumes and we're not relying on 2019 pre-COVID volumes. And I can go into a whole diatribe about trends in the state, in the nation, about pre-COVID and post-COVID
I'm
counts,
good.
but I won't do that.
I'm good. Wasn't really the nature of it, but that's
let me
okay.
ask.
So am I hearing this correctly? In the April report, I'm looking at table 3, which are the levels of service, and those are actual and not projection or scaled up from the June report. Am I hearing that correctly? Those are actual?
You're looking at page 6?
Yes.
Okay. Page 6, table 3, where you see 2024 existing.
Yep.
That is the pre-COVID 2019 counts.
Scaled.
Grown significantly to a 2024 existing condition.
Okay, so that's not actual. That was scaled.
Those are scaled. I do have actual if you want to see a comparison.
I'm concerned. I'm just looking at the northbound, right? Because there's a level of service that was changed from the April one, from a D to an E, from the northbound on the June report. Same table, June report, D to an E. So level of service decreased. This new report, looking at it, there is no level of decrease because of the scaling. I'm just wondering why.
What report are you? What date? What was the date of the report?
There's the 2 traffic study reports. The one that was the June, there was a level of service increase on the northbound.
But you're
And now
looking
there's
at
not.
April 19th?
Yes, I think so.
Yes. Page 6 on April 19th, correct?
Page 6, April 19th.
And then I'm looking at the June 15th, 2023. Page 6.
He's comparing this chart.
I'm comparing the charts. That's what I'm doing. I'm seeing a level
Okay.
of service
So-
increase, but now I don't see it.
So
I'm just
apparently
wondering
this
why
is
it's
from
collected.
this is the 2019 that you had grown, correct? And then you said you went and checked the counts, and were they
But
consistent?
we're still showing the E. Is that what you're referring to? E
You showed a D
39.4?
on the non-build. On the June, you showed a D that was on the non-build.
Oh, okay. Now I understand. In the June report, where you see an E right now, previously showed a D.
Correct.
Okay, so the reason for that is the existing year for the old report, the June 2023 report, was not 2024. We grew the volumes one more year. So the volumes that are in the report dated April 19th, 2024, overall are higher than the volumes that were contained within the June 15th, 2023 report.
Okay, got it. Wanted to know if it was scaled, and it was. Thank you for that. Just would the level of service, perhaps, if there was a connection, I know we talked about this, we brought, it was brought last time, of if there was a connection from phase 2 to phase 1, would that, in your opinion, would it have any changes to the level of service that the traffic would be, now that there would be 2 maybe egresses out from the development?
So I think there would be no change to the level of service at the intersection of Camplain Road and Sunny Mead Road. I do think there would be a decrease in level of service and an increase in delay if the 2 projects were connected and had to use one consolidated driveway.
But now there would be 2, though, driveways that they could go in between. They could take a left either in phase 1 or a left in phase 2.
We are proposing 2 separate driveways. One driveway for the 2 projects are completely bifurcated. So
I understand.
Right. So our driveway only serves our development.
My question was, if they were connected, do you see benefits to that? And in terms of having access to left-hand turns?
No, I see detriment.
In which way?
I think that there would be more vehicles utilizing a single driveway, which would result in more delay.
Rather than go into the second one?
Correct. I think having 2 driveways distributes that traffic and makes operations at both better.
Okay. I just heard you speak about just testimony here. You performed research for the shoulders. Was that research given to the board or put up on Civic Clerk?
I don't know that it was research. It was more that you went to visit the site.
No, I think it's fair to characterize that in being able to, properly respond to Mr. Mayhew's comment that we did a considerable amount of review of engineering manuals, all of which.
I think the question is, was it in writing or is it just testimony that you're providing?
Just testimony.
I think that was.
And I made an effort to
trying to be steamlined too. Thank you.
Yeah, we had a week to come back, so that was a little bit of a. We couldn't submit a report because otherwise we wouldn't be within the 10 days.
Exactly.
So.
Please do.
Based on the testimony he gave, I think at some point he would need to put it in writing since he did put it in testimony.
Well, he's coming back because the board asked him to look further into it. So.
But that was his question: was that whether it was on Civic Clerk, and it wasn't.
It was not. Nope, I got it. Thank you. Issues related to safety. Can you? I heard the term high speed. Can you classify what your terminology high speed includes? What is high speed considered?
I'm not sure what the high speed's referring to.
So that was in context of the use of the shoulder as a the design of a taper for the shoulder. And when I say high speed, I mean relative to the proximity to the houses that are nearby on the north side of the roadway. I would characterize the design speed and a travel lane being any closer than it is to those houses on the north side of the road as high speed.
In your opinion, is there a number for the high speed? Maybe I got to classify. What is a high speed that you would be considered for this? What number?
I don't know if I can give you a specific number. It depends entirely on context.
Is this road, Camp Lane Road, a high-speed road relative to the houses? Is it appropriately speed? I don't know what the term is.
No, I think that when you physically, not physically, but when you geometrically look at what a widened road would look like on the north side of the road, I think it is fair to say that having the through traffic any closer than where it is to that house would be considered high speed for that particular context.
Okay, not giving me a number though.
No.
Okay. Would in your report that you were looking at in the research, would you agree that the shoulder that your manual was stating sort of went the whole length of the road, or did the manual specifically reference a taper as what's referred to as what we're referencing here?
I've referenced a few different manuals.
The manual was like, hey, if you build a shoulder, then that can increase the high speed. You can increase the speed, including for speeding, I think was somewhat a paraphrasing. Did that manual, make the assumption that the shoulder would be the entire length of the road, or just a simple taper as we're talking about here?
Yeah, I think it would. I think that for them to draw this conclusion, it would be for a continuous shoulder, not for an intermittent shoulder.
And did your research ever then go into a taper? So if it's assumption that it's the whole length, then what would the taper, sort of counteracting, it's not going to be high speed because it's not the full length of the road?
I think I've...
In your opinion, it doesn't change the fact that it's a taper, then, is what I'm hearing?
No, I think that having a taper to establish a full width shoulder near this driveway will induce people passing illegally.
Would it increase their speed?
I think it's possible, yes.
Okay, and most of those sort of the research you're seeing, I'm hearing a lot of speculative. Would you agree that that's sort of where you're coming from? We're speculating if there's a taper, then drivers would do something. Is that a fair characterization?
I don't think I'm speculating. I think I'm citing industry standard resources.
Okay, so a driver, you're not speculating, would increase their speed. You would say that that's a fact. If there's a taper, then they would increase their speed.
I don't understand the taper aspect of the question.
If there's a full length shoulder, is it an assumption or industry standard that they would definitely, drivers would definitely increase their speed, or is that a sort of speculation on your part?
Definitely at any point. So
I would say that I'll just read the sentence again. Methodologies in the Highway Capacity Manual predict an approximately 1.3 to 1.7 mile per hour increase in speeds for every 1 foot increase in shoulder width on 2-lane highways.
Okay, and that's the full length, I would say, said again, right? That's what your manual is referencing, not a taper?
Correct, but I've made an effort to point out the negative safety implications of an intermittent shoulder as well.
Okay, thank you.
Any other questions from the public? Okay.
Maria Janusik, 720 East Freck Avenue, Manville, New Jersey. I'm a property owner on Champlain Road in close proximity to where this development is being proposed. Is this, what is being proposed as far as this driveway, is that consistent with what is in the Sherman redevelopment plan?
Does it meet the requirements of the redevelopment plan? I would have to refer back to Bill's testimony.
and that'll be addressed by our planner as well. So with regard to the requirements of the redevelopment plan, that will be addressed by our planner.
Okay. In regard to the driveway that we're talking about, what street are we talking about?
We're talking about the Buffalo Road, right?
Correct.
I'm sorry, what?
Buffalo Road.
Buffalo Road? Is that a currently existing road?
No.
So there is no road to turn onto it right now?
Ms. Janusik, you went down this line of questioning last week.
I'm asking as part of what I want to ask.
And I think you may have asked last week.
So why was there a change made in the previously submitted impact study in regard to the peak hours?
We collected new data.
I'm sorry, what?
We collected new data.
Collected new data. Were you present on site? Have you been to that site?
I've been to the site. I did not personally collect the traffic data.
All right. Who did collect the traffic data?
An employee of Stonefield Engineering Design.
Okay. So did the employee provide information as to what businesses are located on Champlain Road that have traffic going to their site?
He did not provide an inventory of the businesses in the vicinity, but I have visited the location and I am aware that there are commercial businesses at the intersection of Champlain Road and Sunnymead Road.
At the intersection? What about on Champlain Road?
I am aware and have seen a number of industrial type uses on the northerly side of Champlain Road.
Okay, so there is a business called Klein Recycling that did you see the number of trucks, large industrial trucks that go to that site?
We did not count those private driveways.
I'm not asking about a driveway. I'm asking, did you see the trucks that go to that site on a daily basis?
We counted them and classified them as I testified to previously this evening.
What about the business that's a little further down? That's Copart that has car carriers, large 12-car carriers that go down Champlain Road. Did you count those vehicles?
Absolutely. If they travel through the intersection of Champlain Road and Sunnymead Road, we counted them and properly classified them.
So you had stated that Champlain Road is a low-traffic road?
Yes, that is my professional opinion.
So having numerous trucks going to 2 industrial sites every day is considered low traffic?
I don't know the trip generation of those sites, so I can't make that statement.
All right. It was mentioned that Champlain Road is classified as a major collector road. What is that? What is a major collector road?
Sure. So a major collector road is, well, I won't read the definition. It connects arterial roadways with local roadways. And a collector road is sort of hybrid in that it can provide access to homes, and it can provide access to commercial uses. An arterial roadway is more likely to have access management types of principles. You would think of a NJDOT state highway as a more like an urban principle arterial, and Sunnymead Road as a local roadway, and Champlain Road, connecting the two, serving as a critical connection in our roadway network.
What road did you mention as being an arterial roadway that connects to Champlain?
I didn't mention any specific roads. I just said that it would be very common for a New Jersey, a state highway, under the NJDOT jurisdiction to be classified as a principal arterial.
So then a collector road can have high traffic, a lot of traffic versus what you're saying, low traffic.
Some can, and I've classified this particular collector road as relatively low traffic volumes.
So 6,000 vehicles a day is considered low traffic?
Yes, in my opinion.
So what is considered high traffic? Anything over 6,000 or over even higher amount?
There isn't a specific black and white threshold, but in my experience, taking a look at the peak hour volumes, taking a look at how Sunnymead Road and Champlain Road operate at that intersection, spending time at the site, understanding the frequency of how frequent cars travel on Champlain Road. That's how I came to my conclusion.
Okay, you're talking about the intersection of Sunnymead and Champlain. How about further down Champlain and Route 206?
I would characterize Route 206 as very busy, not a low traveled road.
Okay, and doesn't traffic come from there also down Champlain Road? You're always talking about the intersection of Sunnymead and Champlain. What about that other intersection?
Well, yeah, sure. Traffic has to originate from somewhere, and in this particular case, that's an origin point to the west of our site.
Mention was made about widening of Champlain Road. Is that part of the plan to widen Champlain Road?
I provided testimony earlier this evening with respect to what I see as the drawbacks of that proposal.
I'm sorry, drawbacks of what?
Widening.
Drawbacks of widening?
Correct.
So then your recommendation would be not to widen Champlain Road.
That is correct.
Okay. You mentioned the intersection of the driveway and about being widened, and you made a comment about the culvert. There's going to be, or the intersection is at the culvert?
No, that's an existing condition that is a bit to the west of our site. It exists today, I should clarify.
Okay, so the driveway will have no impact on this culvert?
No, none. It's to the east of that feature.
Could you give a little more information on, you had mentioned 4.1.1 Ash 2 Greenbrook and their policy on geometric design of what?
Highways and streets.
I'm sorry, did you say something?
Yeah.
What?
A policy on the geometric design of highways and streets.
A highway and what?
Streets.
And streets? Okay, and what does that have, what was the purpose of that in relation to this Champlain Road?
So that book is the preeminent design manual for designing roads in the United States. It's published by the Federal Highway Administration.
And so what was the purpose of using that in regard to what you were discussing about Champlain Road?
Is that considered industry standard?
Absolutely. If there's a question about how to design any feature of a roadway, the first resource that an engineer like myself would do is look to that manual.
And in that manual was information regarding whether or not there should be shoulders on this road?
It provides an extensive amount of discussion on the subject, yes.
Okay. The driveway for this phase 2 on the Sherman Tract, is that going to be similar to the driveway on phase 1?
Similar, but as the chair spoke, there was previously a shoulder where the driveway for phase 1 is, whereas there is not at our location. But my understanding is that phase 1's driveway is 1 lane in and 1 lane out, as would ours.
As is yours?
Yeah, our proposed driveway is 1 lane in and 1 lane out, 2 total lanes.
Is it as wide? Will it be as wide as the driveway on phase 1?
I'm not familiar with the exact dimensions of the roadway for phase 1, but I am for phase 2.
So then you don't know if it's going to be the same width as phase 1?
I don't have the phase 1 plans before me.
All right. You made comments that there's going to be low traffic generated to this particular development so that you don't see much of a change in traffic on that road?
That's correct.
What do you foresee as the number of vehicles going into that development?
That is included in our traffic impact study. We are projecting a total of 35 vehicles combining in and out in the morning peak hour, and 45 vehicles totaling in and out in the evening peak hour.
Is that per hour or is that during those entire periods?
That is the volume for an entire hour. And so other hours throughout the day would be less than that.
Okay. And you stated that for this development, only 10 vehicles per hour would be making a left, and I think you said 18 vehicles making a right. How do you come up with that conclusion?
We take a look at the the surrounding roadway network, and we essentially had 2/3 traveling to the west and 1/3 traveling to the east, just based on how you would get to certain locations to the north, south, east, and west. So, you know, we went through an exercise of literally dropping, you know, pins in Google Maps and saying, okay, how would you get to Princeton from here? How would you get to Morristown from here? And when you take all of that into consideration, you start to see patterns. You start to see, oh, well, most of the routes to these major destinations to the north, south, east, and west, you know, originate from the west. So we had roughly 2/3 to and from the west and 1/3 to the east.
Okay, so you were present when trucks were going to Klein Recycling and to Copart. Do you see that as a safety issue when they're now going to be school buses traveling on that road?
I wasn't present at the traffic count.
You weren't present at the traffic count?
No.
Okay. So is there anywhere in the report that there are industrial trucks going to two industrial sites on the property, which could impact safety as far as school buses going to this development?
We took all of that into consideration, and those specific values are inputs in our capacity analyses.
And is there a conclusion to that?
We concluded that the proposed development would not have a significant impact on the operations of the adjacent roadway network.
On what?
The adjacent roadway network.
Okay, even though there are no school buses going that way now, you don't see that there would be a problem in the future?
Was that a question?
Some kind of comment was made about something previously shown as a D, and now it's an E. Was that in regard to the traffic study?
Correct.
And what does that mean?
So the highway capacity manual essentially grades approaches to intersection based on how much delay a motorist incurs. So if you travel through an intersection and essentially don't stop, that's probably going to be level of service A. If you approach an intersection and you see the light turn green and then it turns red and you didn't get through the intersection, that's probably going to be level of service F. So those are the letter grades that we're referring to. It's correlated to the delay incurred by a motorist.
So that was from one extreme to the other, from A to F. So here you're showing that it was previously D and now it's an E?
Yes, but I like to say that the grades for capacity analysis, you're not striving for grades as you would in an academic setting. If you're designing your roadways to all be level of service A, you're not properly allocating your resources. Generally speaking, the industry finds level of service D or better or E or better as acceptable.
As what?
Acceptable.
Accessible.
Acceptable.
Okay. Is F accessible also?
It depends on the jurisdiction. Like if this report were to be reviewed by the New Jersey Department of Transportation, they would ask us to take certain measures if something was level of service F. But in all likelihood, if it was level of service E or better, they would find that acceptable. But it depends on the jurisdiction.
Okay. Can you explain once again, what is the disadvantage to having a shoulder?
Ms.
Is that
Janusik,
too
he
close?
answered that, no.
Excuse me?
Next question.
I'm sorry, what?
Next question. He's
What?
already answered that.
He answered it?
Yep,
Okay, he did. If you say so.
it's on the video.
It's what?
It's on the video. You can watch on
video?
YouTube tonight.
Thank you. So you feel that there is safe passage on this road in regard to the homes that are located on this street, that there will be no issues as far as safety for the homeowners or the property?
He's already testified to that.
He did?
Yes, he did.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yep. Okay, if there's no other, we will end, because we do have to take a short break and move on to our next applicant, so.
If I may, before we go on
go
break, I just wanted to have Ron Allenbach come back up. I wanted to review very quickly.
Can I suggest that we made a commitment?
All right.
Mr. Allenbach, I'm sure, under duress, will be here at the next hearing. And we start with him when we start the hearing on the 13th. We did promise the county they could come in at 9.
Yep.
We're not going to get them at 9. We're going to take a break, so
Okay, well, I mean, it's really quickly through
that's my suggestion to the
Mr.
board.
Coy's report. Okay.
Because then the public gets to ask questions.
Public
and we-
gets asked
and so-
questions.
Understood.
So commitments were made. One other item for the record, Ms. Elgart, you and I discussed this yesterday and today. It is anticipated that Ms. Gaffone will be here on the 13th because she's coming back. In the absence of her, it is your desire to go forward with planning testimony that night?
Correct. We're going to go forward. We will submit a planning report co-authored. It's going to be the same report, but it's somebody else from her firm that.
At least 10 days in advance of the June 13th hearing.
Absolutely.
Just for the purpose of the record.
I appreciate that, yes.
Okay.
Mr. Chairman, what we now need is a motion to continue this application to June 13th, 2024 at 7 p.m. or soon thereafter, as the matter may be heard without further notice.
Okay, may I have a motion?
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Mr. Vandervliet. Mr. Radowitz. Yes. Mr. Scobo.
Yes.
Ms. Smith.
Yes.
Mr. Depp.
Yes.
Committeeman Lapani.
Yep.
Deputy Mayor Ciccarelli.
Yes.
Chair Sarachi.
Yes.
Mr. Chairman, 9:20.
We'll do 9:15 to the red clock.
9:15 by that clock.
This one right here, the digital.
Okay, thank you.
We're back in session. Next up is Somerset County Multi-Use Facility, File 24-PB-02-INF, Block 142, Lot 23.02, otherwise known as 36 Roycefield Road.
Mr. Chairman, before council introduces herself and her witness, it is the recommendation that, because this is a courtesy application, that the open to the public portion occur at the completion of the testimony of all witnesses, so they still can ask any of the witnesses questions, but rather than doing it normally individually, because it's a courtesy application.
That works for me. Thank you. Counselor.
Thank you. Hello, my name is Marina Steinle from the firm
Get
Cleary.
closer.
From the firm Cleary, Jacoby, Alfieri, and Jacobs, representing the County of Somerset. And we are here to request a courtesy review and recommendations from the board for this proposed multi-use facility project based on under the MLUL Section 31A. The project, as was stated, is located at 360 Roycefield Road, Block 142, Lot 23.02. It's neighbored by other commercial and industrial properties, and the county is proposing to construct a new facility comprising of 76,708 square feet It'll serve multiple purposes, so it'll be used for the Office of Emergency Management vehicles, to house election board voting machines, and for possible election board offices at some point, and to just provide a versatile space for the county's needs in the future. The building will include some loading bays for the Office of Emergency Management and Election Board storage requirements. So when we need to move the voting machines in and out a couple times a year, it'll be stored there. And one bay is designed as for future use and unknown yet. The county will also provide landscaped areas and 3 underground detention basins to provide stormwater management, and we seek to achieve LEED Silver certification for the project. And we don't anticipate much traffic coming from this project. So that's a general overview. We're looking for the board's review and recommendations, and I have the county's architect here to provide some testimony and give some more details on the project. So if we could get him.
Testimony you give tonight is going to be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth.
I do.
Please spell your name.
Yes, it's Kurt Verheilig, V as in Victor, Ierheilig.
Pull the mic closer, sir.
Spell it again? We got it. Okay. I'm employed by DMR Architects, and I'm a partner and director of design, and I oversaw the development of the project. So I'm very familiar with it.
And could you provide the board some background on your qualifications?
So I graduated NJIT with my Bachelor of Architecture. I've been practicing architecture for over 20 years.
And you're licensed in the state of New Jersey?
Licensed in the state of New Jersey in good standing.
All right. Mr. Chairman?
We accept.
All right.
Please continue.
Thank you very much.
So if you could just direct the board's attention to your exhibit. This was not previously provided to the board, but it's a colorized rendering of the engineering plans.
It's going to be marked A1 if you'd indicate what A1. You don't.
Sure, I will. This is working? Okay.
Indicate what A1 comprises of.
Sure. Sheet A1 is identified as site plan. It's sheet number 2, and it's dated 4/24/2024. And it is a rendered, colorized site plan, which shows the landscaping, shows the building, shows the driveways, shows the parking areas. The tan area in the middle is the proposed building. The light green is the grass. The landscaping is in darker green. The darker gray is the circulation areas around the building. And then it's overlaid on top of an aerial photograph. So what's being proposed is 76,000 square foot multi-use building. It's located on adjacent, right off of Roycefield Road and Avenue A. Avenue A is on the bottom of this drawing here, which is on the southern portion. And that's a thoroughfare that's part of the site, but is not being impacted or changed. There are some minor improvements that are happening there, but that thoroughfare is remaining as is. All the access and movements will, for the proposed project, will be happening off of Avenue A. So there's proposed 2 access driveways, one on the west side towards Roycefield and one on the right side of the site to the east, opposite, further away of Roycefield. The building is a bar-shaped building. It's located generally in the middle of the site, has 3 uses. The left side, starting left to right, is the OEM garage. In the middle portion would be the storage for elections. And then the right side is a shell space for future use, just open space on the interior, no defined use at this present time. There are proposed 67 parking spaces on the site, 19 by OEM, 23 in the front along Avenue A, 19 plus 6, which would be 25 on the right side. circulation on the site, as I mentioned, the 2 access points. The election storage area has need for tractor trailer access. So in the rear of the site, there are 3 depressed tractor trailer bays located here. I'm pointing to the middle of the rectangle on the upper side of the drawing. And access to those, for those vehicles, would be in Avenue A to the second exit, to the second entrance, come in, traverse through the site, and they'd be able to back into any one of the 3 loading docks. Access into the uses is from the front. So with that diagonal parking along Avenue A, that's where people that would be accessing using the spaces would be accessing in from. On the left side, the OEM garage is a drive-through type facility, and so access for vehicles would be in the first entrance, and then they would go traverse towards the rear of the site and be able to maneuver into the garages, and then they'll be queued and set up so that they can exit during emergency use. Essentially, the OEM garage is where they emergency services will store their vehicles, different vehicles to respond to all different sorts of emergencies throughout the county. And so it's there's no real prescribed time of day that will be utilized. So that happens here. There's a parking area, as I mentioned, immediately to the entrance to that, so that responders can have immediate access to that. Yeah, I mean, that's the kind of overall site plan approach. I'm going to go to the floor plans here. And
A2.
A2, thank you very much. So Exhibit A2 is sheet A1, and it's called First Floor Plan, and the date is May 9th, 2024, Planning Board presentation. And this sheet is a floor plan with colorized areas depicting each one of the different uses. So as I mentioned before, in the purple here on the left is OEM garage. In the middle, in the tan, is the election storage area. There's a small office in the front. And then on the right in this yellow is a future use shell space.
And is the building going to be fully sprinklered?
Yes.
And are there bathrooms in the building?
There are. OEM, there's a bathroom in the OEM area. The warehouse area, storage facility area has a small office, as I mentioned, and there's toilets in there for the staff that will be using that.
And those will be ADA compliant?
Yes, all ADA compliant. Okay. And then the shell space on the right has provisions, but there's no bathrooms being built because there's really no determined use at this point as to exactly how it will be needed or how it will be used.
And there are existing utilities on the site?
There are utilities, yes, and they're being improved to bring them up to what's necessary to accommodate for the new facility.
Okay, great.
Okay, and I'm going to skip to the renderings. Also, I failed to mention, there is a small covered, like a canopy on the north side adjacent to the OEM garage, and that's for outdoor storage of additional vehicles to keep them protected from the weather, and so that when they need to respond to incidents, inclement weather, that they're protected and sheltered. I'm going to go to the renderings now. Just to give you an idea about what the building look like. A3?
Yes.
Got it. I'm a fast learner. A3.
Council, you're going to provide a colorized version to
Thank you.
Yes, we will provide this digital file to you. A3 is sheet A3, and it's also dated May 9th, 2024, and it's concept renderings. So the top rendering is the perspective view from Roycefield Road as you approach into Avenue A immediately. So the building around 26 feet tall. It's going to be a metal skinned building. It's going to have two different colors, a darker gray and a lighter gray. And so the darker gray is a kind of a ribbed vertical metal panel. And then the lighter gray, as you can see here on the view looking from east towards west, this is the office, this is the warehouse, election space, and this is the shell space on the right, kind of in the front. The lighter color is another metal panel. We have a kind of like a little canopy overhang happening on the entrance. The garage doors, we have that surrounded, flanked by the lighter color metal panel just as an accent. Very simple, clean, non-flashy, utilitarian service building. So, if there's any other questions or anything else you want me to highlight?
I think there's rooftop HVAC proposed, and how will that be situated?
Yeah, so it's a relatively large building, as you can see from the large in terms of the footprint. As you can see from the rendering on the bottom, the mechanical units will be located on the top in the center of the building, so they won't be able to be viewed from around the perimeter, around the edge. So they're not going to be tremendously tall units. They should be probably in the range of like 6 to 7 feet. So with that and with the perspective view and the sight lines, we don't think that there's the need to have any screening, since you won't be viewed.
And then how will trash be removed from the property?
So trash, the way the county works their trash collection is that they have their maintenance service crews come in and take the trash, put it in the vehicle that's collecting that, and take it away. This building is not going to generate any significant amount of trash that would need like a dumpster or anything.
And the building, will it have some exterior lighting?
The exterior lighting is all site lighting.
All
Yes.
site lighting, okay.
Site poles.
And then the pavement and roads that are connecting the site or around the site for the site circulation and then to the Avenue A, who will be maintaining those roads?
The county will maintain it.
And will there be a generator or generator storage?
There is a generator on the north side of the site. Yes.
And then sidewalks are on the property?
Sidewalks are just for circulation from parking to the entrances.
Okay. And then we received some professional reports from the township and from the board. We received the fire district memo dated April 24th, 2024, and the county would agree to comply and work with the township fire chief or fire marshal to comply with all the comments in that memo. We also received a memo from the planning director dated May 9th with 3 comments. The first one was regarding the use as government use only. So could you testify that regarding the proposed use for the property?
That is the intention, that it will be used solely by the county.
All right. And then that there's existing fencing with barbed wire. Is that intended to remain?
I've been told that, yes, it will remain.
Okay. And then the final comment in the planning report was regarding access that goes through the subject property that connects to a federally owned property. And so the county does not have any plans to change that condition. There's a deed in place and everything will remain the same regarding that that access point. Then we have, I think that's all of the questions I have. Oh, we have the engineering report, yes. Dated May 9th, 2024, and we've reviewed the comments. A lot of the comments are, I would say, more geared towards a traditional application, but the county is willing to work with the board engineer, the township engineers, to make sure that any of their concerns and their recommendations are complied with. So if you have questions now, I'd be happy to. If we need I have the engineer with us too if we need additional testimony, but there will be stormwater management facilities installed on site too.
Mr. Mayhew.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Many of our comments had to do with stormwater management. I just received today a review letter from the Delaware and Raritan Canal Commission. I understand you made an application. Is it your intention to address the DNR Canal Commission review?
All right, we'll have our engineer.
No, you don't need
Okay.
to, but you can answer for your
Yes,
intention.
yes, we will.
Okay, and that would probably address every one of our stormwater questions. If they're able to meet the DNR Canal Commission comments, then I'm not concerned with our stormwater comments. I guess I would want to just bring two questions to light. One is the covered parking. How close is that to the property line?
Oh, good question. I'll find out. Just give me 1 second. It is 9 feet.
Was there any consideration, because I'm assuming that would encroach on accessory use or building setback requirements for the district if you had to meet those? Was there any consideration to locating that somewhere else farther from the property line?
This location seemed like it was the least obtrusive. So we didn't see that there was an issue since it's an open air structure. There's no walls, or it's basically just a roof, and it's 14 feet tall. And so it's just a gentle sloping roof. We didn't feel that it was negatively impacting the adjacent property because it's not really a fully enclosed element.
And the last question I had is, would the county, and this would be at the board's discretion, that there's a lot of area between the front of the building and Roycefield Road that's not landscaped. I don't know if the county would consider additional landscaping to help buffer.
Yeah, I think that would be agreeable.
Those are the extent of our suggestions.
Okay, Mr. Coyce.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you for addressing some of the comments that I had. Just further clarification that the reason why I was asking about the barbed wire was because there was a note on the plan saying that the fence was going to be continued with the same barbed wire. And what I was just trying to understand, is it necessary for this property to have the barbed wire? And because we also noticed that the barbed wire that's along the road, as noted in Mr. Mayhew's report, seems very old. So we're just trying to understand if some new fencing is being added. I'm not sure exactly how long some of that fencing has been there, but my guess is it's pretty old. It's been there for a very long time, and we're just trying to understand, or at least for the board's edification, is this type of facility, does it require the barbed wire, or are you just trying to continue what was currently there?
You don't like electrified barbed wire?
Okay, so I've been told that they will maintain it and replace it, but they want to maintain it to keep the barbed wire. But they will maintain it and replace it to make it look more, so it's not less rundown looking and there's not things caught in it and stuck in it and that making it look old.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I have nothing further.
Okay, thank you. Board members?
In the vein of barbed wire, will there be other security measures at the site?
In terms of other like access control limitations, cameras, yes,
Yeah.
there'll be cameras, and not any gates or restricted kind of fencing like that at the entrances.
Okay.
But yes, cameras around the perimeter for security.
And how many employees do you anticipate?
So, as I mentioned, OEM is a kind of a on-call as a need basis. So they're estimating about 6 to 11 employees, people that would come and utilize the apparatus based on the need. They would also do some maintenance on equipment, not the actual vehicles, but equipment that's associated with the vehicles for operation of that. So that's OEM. Elections is estimated 3 to 7 people on a regular basis, and seasonally could be up to 20 plus, so they can do their work. And then the shelf space, it's to be determined in terms of like what's in there. The anticipation is that it would be storage and light office use, so not like intense capacity or density. So, we're estimating maybe 40 people may occupy that, but that's an estimate without really having any benefit of knowing what's there. They don't have any intention of exactly what might go in there.
And how many parking spots were there?
There's 67.
So it's pretty much it's pretty close to that.
Yeah. So there's 67 spaces right now. To the east, obviously the county owns that property also. If in the future there was need to have additional parking, first on the right side where the drive aisle is, there could be expanded parking into there, and they could subsequently, move eastward if there was the need to accommodate additional spaces or parking based on an intensity that's not anticipated at this point.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Evening. So 2 questions. A, in regarding to parking, you had talked about any EV ready spots as required by?
Yes. There will be 6 EV ready spaces.
Okay.
They're going to install the all the infrastructure, and then as they need, they're going to phase in. But there will be 6 spaces, and at this point, they're anticipated along the front.
And the 3, I'll call separate uses, are those walled? So there's no.
Yes, there's no communication between, no internal connection.
Right. So they're all individual segmented sections?
Yes.
And my last section is building on size. Is there any plan or being made available for solar on top of that facility?
Yes, the building, as was mentioned, is going for LEED Silver. So along with all the other requirements of designing and constructing a sustainable, energy efficient building, solar panels are part of that in this particular case. So yes.
Thank you.
I just have a quick follow with regards to that the building's going to be just used for government or county purposes. There wouldn't be any subleasing to outside?
No.
It's not
County government?
No.
Okay. No, we've seen what the feds have done, so. Okay. If there's none, we can go to your next witness.
I think that's all we have, unless the board wishes to hear more about the stormwater management, but
I see engineers saying no.
okay.
Motion to open public.
I guess so. Motion open to public, please.
I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Have anyone from the public like to question? It's first come, first serve.
Oh,
Yeah.
That's okay. We have a history.
Thank you.
Susan Gulliford on Club Road. The election area, the election board, you partly mentioned security. So you're going to continue the barbed wire, but clean it up. You're going to have cameras, but I guess in this day and age, we want to make sure that the election area and the storage of the machines is particularly secure. Without going into specifics, that will be addressed.
Yes.
Yes,
Okay.
the county will provide all the security measures necessary, and there's requirements for the Board of Elections to comply with those.
Okay. What is there now where that building's proposed? Is that just a field? Or?
It's just a concrete slab, just a big concrete slab and asphalt parking lot.
Okay. What are the buildings directly across the road from it?
They're commercial buildings.
I'm sorry, they're what?
Commercial buildings?
Oh, okay. The OEM section where you're going to have vehicles. First of all, the bathrooms, you said there's going to be just toilets there, right?
One toilet.
Okay, so you're not going to have any special showers for decontamination or for rinsing off trucks after they've responded?
There's a eye wash station, but not at this particular location. No.
Okay. Is this septic or is this public?
Excuse me?
Is this septic systems or is this
It's
public? Sewered. Okay. So if they responded back from an incident, needed to wash off, it would go out into the sewers then? The resulting water.
I don't know if they do that here. There's not the intention that they'll be cleaning them here.
Okay. And you asked the question on the solar panels. Oh, the EV. Is there a special EV that's needed for trucks? Or is just an EV is good for any vehicle?
The ones we're providing, or you're talking about something different than the
ones you're
six we
providing.
provided? They're just going to be a regular vehicle.
For passenger vehicles?
Passenger vehicle. Correct.
Okay, I'm only bringing this up because there was a discussion recently about trucking and warehouses, and they were mentioning upcoming was electric.
I will say
vehicles.
that there's charging inside for each specific vehicle.
Okay.
Specific. Each vehicle has its own specific
Okay, good.
requirements. So, but it's not for public use.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Coming up behind you.
Good try.
Maria Janusik, 720 East Freck Avenue, Manville, New Jersey. There's going to be OEM vehicles. What types of vehicles will there be?
Emergency response vehicles. I mean, that they respond to all different types of emergencies. I mean,
Well, like fire trucks?
Emergency vehicles. I mean, not necessarily fire. There's different kinds of fire trucks. They're emergency vehicles that have specialized equipment to respond to specialized incidents. I mean, you want me to give you the names of the types of vehicles or the equipment on them?
I have some idea of what types of emergency vehicles.
Extrication, rescue, emergency command, like command type vehicle in terms of like managing a scene of incident. Yeah.
It would be no different than what we have here in Hillsborough.
Similar to like an ambulance corps vehicle, something like that? or for other types of
But it's all
emergencies?
specialized equipment, so like a fire truck, and using the term fire truck is usually for, a fire of a house fire, but, I think one of the units is like a foam unit, so there's it's specialized equipment that normal fire department or even a municipality might not have.
Do you know where these OEM vehicles are currently being stored?
Yes, next door, on the site next door in South County's garage area.
Okay. Is this property owned by the county?
Yes.
It's owned by the county. All right. And there is no current use, only a big concrete slab on the site?
It's a vacant property which is used for just general random storage.
I'm sorry, general
random storage.
Outdoor storage?
Yeah, outdoor storage.
Okay, and where is this old barbed wire? What is that? Where is that?
Along the perimeter on the left side, the top, and the right.
But that will be replaced.
That'll be maintained to better looking order and aesthetic.
Is that around that whatever is existing, that slab? Is it totally around that slab?
It is around, yes, that whole property.
Okay. There are 3 separate sections proposed within the building. How large is the area for the OEM?
Around 9,900.
And for the election machines?
That one is around 47,000.
And what is the total?
60. The total is 76,708.
So there is no currently dedicated use for that third section?
Not at this time.
What is the size of that one?
Around 20,000.
20,000. You said there are 67 parking spaces. Why are so many parking spaces required?
This is what was determined that was necessary to support the facility.
All right, so in regards to the OEM, that's storage for OEM vehicles. And how many employees are there?
I think I can go.
Ma'am, our architect already provided that testimony.
Okay. Yeah. All right, so I think it was like maybe 6 or 7. It was under 10.
Yeah.
So 67 parking spaces will be required for that third use. That's currently not dedicated to anything.
We did provide testimony that there are about 6 to 11 OEM personnel anticipated. There could be 3 to 7 employees for the elections area, and then the flexible space, it's undetermined, but possibly 40 employees. We don't know yet. That's why the county came to the conclusion that they needed the 67 spaces.
So 40 employees are currently what is being considered for that third?
Right now,
empty
nothing
space?
has been considered. Nothing is being considered for that space. The county just wants a flexible option in the future.
How did the county determine that 40 parking spaces would be required for that section?
We estimated it based on what our best estimate at the time for what would be we felt to be adequate. And as I mentioned, if there was a need, they could expand and provide. And if need be in the future, the county owns the whole parcel, they could expand if there was a lack of parking, because it would only be in their best interest at that time if that was necessary to be able to provide parking for the use.
You said the county could.
So we didn't want to overbuild the parking. So we're providing the amount of parking that we feel is necessary at this time.
You just said expand what, the parking or the building?
If the county needs additional parking, we own the entire lot behind, so we could build more if needed, but right now, we don't think we need any more.
Okay, well, we're talking about 40 right now that with no use currently dedicated to this, so it's interesting. Why would the county consider that they might even require even more parking spaces?
If we need more parking spaces, we'll be back here again, and we'll address those concerns then.
Okay, is there a reason why you feel it's necessary to have barbed wire?
I believe the testimony was that this is a secured facility with election board equipment, and it's already existing barbed wire, so we're just going to maintain what's there.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
No? Okay. Public shook their head no. Okay. I gotta make a motion to close.
I'll make a motion to close.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Last words, Council?
All right, we thank you so much for your time. We'll be in touch with the board and township professionals to address the comment letters and any other recommendations that the board would have.
Okay, appreciate it. There's nothing for
Does the board have any other recommendations? Because I'm assuming at some point we're going to have to put something together for the record. It may not be a formal resolution, but if the board has any other recommendations for the site, it's now or never.
Well, I mean, we already have a few on, right? Are you tempting me with my one question?
When has that ever stopped you?
Sure, I'll ask. Any proposals or considerations about expanding Brown Avenue towards the site?
I'm sorry.
The extension of Brown Avenue, I think.
You gonna come up, Mr.
Not that I know of.
I know that you probably weren't the right one to ask. But it's always.
Almost got away, Matt. Can we swear Mr. Loper in just for the
You swear any testimony you give tonight can be the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
Yes.
state?
My name is Matthew Loper, L-O-P-E-R. I'm the Somerset County Engineer and the Director of Engineering and Planning for the County of Somerset.
Status,
Mr. Chair.
yeah.
So this project is unrelated to that project. This is the simplest answer I can give. As you're well aware, or the township's aware, the county has been in agreement with Hillsborough Township with a developer's agreement with the adjacent property owner to build that extension out at 206. And that's really the extent of that discussion as it relates to this project.
Okay.
That's the answer.
That's it.
Thank you.
I would be remiss if I didn't, so. Okay. So now.
And it's a motion to authorize the submission of a document other than a resolution on behalf of the board to the county relative to the recommendations from professionals and any other comments the board made on the record tonight.
I would just add to make sure that when you get the approvals from DNR, you would get that to our engineering department for our records.
All right, understood.
Make a motion?
Thank you. Is there a second? There's a second. Roll call, please.
Just real quick, the board, for some reason, didn't put Mr. Deb on here. Is he allowed to vote? I don't see any reason why he wouldn't.
I guess somebody in planning doesn't like Mr. Deb.
Yeah, he's the alternate.
He's eligible. Let him fly.
Mr. Vandervliet? Yes. Mr. Randowitz?
Yes.
Mr. Scobo?
Yes.
Mrs. Smith?
Yes.
Mr. Deb?
Yes.
Committeeman Lafani?
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Ciccarelli?
Yes.
Mayor Sarachi?
Yes.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Good luck with it.
Mr. Chairman, two procedural items. First is a motion to cancel the business meeting of May the 23rd.
Yep. So is there a motion to cancel the business meeting of 23rd?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Do we gotta do? We can do.
What? All in favor?
All in favor? Aye. Good, that's canceled.
I would remind the board that the next regularly scheduled meeting is June the 6th. And at the moment, we have 3/4 applications on. Now, a couple of them will be extension requests, but at least two, correct me if, David, there are at least two applications, I believe, that will be on the agenda for the night of the 6th. What? And it's D-Day and God knows what else. I don't think it's D-Day for that application yet. So I remind you, if there's anybody who is not going to be able to be at the meeting, to advise Mr. Coyce's office, so we make sure we have a quorum. Motion to adjourn.
Yep, I now will entertain a motion of adjournment. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Good night, everyone. See you on June 6th.
You all can handle going home early?
10 o'clock early?
No.